Hello everyone, Minky here with the next part of the deck profiles. Today we're going to take a look at my Slifer deck, and this is also being recorded on the 16th of April. Yesterday I recorded the Wind Dragon of Ra video, so that's kind of where we stand. I'm going to try and record the Obelisk deck today as well, and hopefully the Heractic deck, but I thought I'd at least record Slifer now and then get that out of the way, and then hopefully get the others out of the way, just so I can have them ready to go out when I need to send them out. Alright, let's go on then with the deck. So today is Slifer the Sky Dragon, the second best in my opinion, out of the three, at least the three using our cards on their own, because it obviously relies on you keeping a hand, so obviously you got to be careful about that. You don't want to use up cards and then, and then end up weakening your Slifer, Alright, so the boss monster of the deck, predictably so, is Slifer the Sky Dragon. This card requires 3 tributes to normal summon, cannot be normal set. This card's normal summon, it cannot be negated. When normal summoned, cards and effects cannot be activated. Once per turn, during the end phase, if this card was special summoned, send it to the graveyard. So that only happens once, so if you can negate it that one time per turn, it's still going to activate next turn. So bear that in mind. Because it's not, if this card was special summoned this turn, it's, if this card is special summoned at all, you send it to the graveyard, but it's only the specific copy, not all 3. This card gains a fast attack and defense for each card in your hand. If a monster is normal or special summoned to your opponent's side of the field in phase of attack position, that monster loses 2,000, or that monster or monsters loses 2,000 attack. Then, if its attack has been reduced to 0 as a result, destroy it. So obviously a lot better than, Ra. Flood gets a lot of monsters. Obviously they can protect their monsters by summoning in defense, but if they summon an attack and they have an attack of 2,000 exactly or less, then their monster's going to be destroyed. Even if it's exactly 2,000, they're going to get destroyed. Which personally, I mean, I don't. Maybe it's just because it's an Egyptian God card, so maybe it should destroy it anyway. But personally, if it's the way I would have done it personally is I would have said unless if it was reduced by any amount other than 2,000 by this effect, destroy it. That way, if it's reduced by exactly 2,000, such as if it's got 2,000 or more attack, even if it's got exactly 2,000 attack, it would have stayed on the field. That kind of makes sense to me, but I guess being in the Egyptian God card makes it powerful enough to say destroy it anyway. So that's just me. That's just my sort of idea. And obviously, like I said, it doesn't target defense monsters, so that's a way to keep them going. But But on the bright side, it does target normal or special summoned monsters. So your opponent can special summon a monster. They're not safe. They're still not safe from it. So they can't just special summon a monster with 2,000 less attack and expect to be safe. And it's not once per turn either. It's permanent basically while it's on the. There's no once per turn or anything. So it's completely fine. So in that sort of case, there's no point in having 2 or more Slifers on the field just for the just for that effect, if you will, because it's infinite basically, which is just kind of funny. And the other boss monster, the mini boss monster, if you will, is Mucka Mucka. As long as this card remains face up in the field, increase the attack and defense of this card by 300 points for every card in the controller's hand. So it's basically like a much weaker Slifer the Sky Dragon, just with the first effect, or the attack and defense effect, but much weaker. It does get a head start with Slifer because it already has 600 attack and 300 defense, so if you've got 0 cards in your hand, then Mucka Mucka is more powerful than Slifer the Sky Dragon. But if you've got 1 card in your hand, then Slifer beats out Mucka Mucka by only 100 points, when Mucka Mucka beat out Slifer by 600. But it's a pretty nice card, I think. It's a pretty cool, a mini Slifer, if you will. So, pretty nice little card right there, I think. Alright, time for the effect monsters then. So, our first monster is Air Knight Parshath. If this card attacks a defense monster, inflict piercing bash damage to your opponent. When this card inflicts bash damage to your opponent, draw a card. So, it's a nice little card, and it's pretty obvious why this guy's here. He's technically a mini boss, not really, of the deck, but he's one of the more powerful ones, and obviously he draws you more cards. So if he attacks before Slifer, you can get another 1,000 points of damage in there. So, and he inflicts bad damage regardless of position as well, so that's really nice. So, that's him. Next up, we have 2 copies of Batteryman Microcell. Flip, special summon 1 of a 4 or lower Batteryman monster from your deck, except another copy of this card. As this card has been flipped face up, when it's destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, draw 1 card. So it kind of replaces itself twice, if you will. Wants to bring out another monster and wants to draw you a card, and obviously both are good for Slifer. The first effect, bring out another monster to tribute for Slifer, and second effect, to strengthen your Slifer, so that's really nice. Next up is Card Blocker. We went over this guy last time, but I'll go over him again real quick again. When this card is summoned, change it to defense position. When a face-up monster you control is targeted for an attack, you can change the target to this card. When this card is targeted for an attack, you can choose a number from 1 to 3, then send that many cards from top of your deck to the graveyard. This card gains 500 defense for each card sent until the end phase. So that's a really nice effect. It mills, so obviously that's not as good for Slifer, but it mills from the deck, so it doesn't take away from Slifer's power. So at least you've got that as well. And the only downside is obviously you can only mill when you're targeted for an attack. So there's that. So, but it's pretty nice though. It's pretty still nice though, I'd say. Alright, next up we have Sheep. And this card I would not call Sheep at all. This is a Creeper monster because it's level 1 with 3 attack and defense. It's not a Creeper monster, but Anyway, Flip. You can special summon 1 level 5 or higher tuner monster from your deck. So it's not Sheep because it's a tuner, so it's really nice. And yeah, it's obviously good for bringing out. It's good for bringing out another tribute for Slifer. That's kind of the main thing here, but it's also. It's not a war monster by any means, obviously, but obviously it's also a nice little, something, if you will. Maybe you can bring up a synchro, so maybe that might be something I might add to the deck in another version, in a proof version, if you will. So there's that. Obviously, the only downside is it's got to be level 5 or higher from the deck. That's really the only thing there. Next, we have Cyber Valley, which actually, by the way, that special summoning from the deck, that sheep card, special summons from the deck, so obviously it doesn't take away from your hand as well. Anyway, so Cyber Valley, you can use one of these effects. First effect, when this card is targeted for an attack by an opponent's monster, you can banish this card, draw 1 card, and end battle phase. So obviously, it's basically negate attack, but draws your card, and banishes this card. Second effect, you can target 1 face-up monster you control and this card, banish both that target and this card, then draw 2 cards. Or third effect, you can target 1 card in your graveyard, banish this card and 1 card from your hand, which your opponent wouldn't do, you probably wouldn't use this effect then place that target on top of the deck. So really that last effect is only really good if you're trying to draw into Slifer again. So, there's that. But the other 2 effects are really what's there for it. Next up we have Ducker Mobile Cannon. I don't know why Ducker is capitalized there, maybe it's an archetype or something, I don't know, probably not. Flip, target 1 level 4 monster in your graveyard, add it to your hand. So obviously this improves Slifer's power. If your opponent attacks into it, it will improve their power and also technically replace itself. It's a level 4 monster, so obviously you can summon it if you need. It's got to be level 4 specifically as well, so you can't bring out a level 4 lower. And obviously, if your opponent leaves it alone for whatever reason, then you can flip it face up to get yourself a level 4 back into your hand, and specifically that will obviously increase Slifer's power again. So that's a nice little card. Next we have Electromagnetic Bagworm. Flip. Target 1 face-up machine monster your opponent controls. Take control of that target until until your next end phase. So obviously the first effect is obviously if your opponent controls a machine, you get to keep it until your end phase. So if your opponent attacks into this guy, and then they have a machine, it goes to your side of the field, and then that's either another monster they've got to beat through, or that's another monster you can sacrifice for Slifer the Sky Dragon if need be, or for another monster. But it does return to your opponent during your end phase, so you've got to be wary of that. And the other effect is, if this card is destroyed in battle, the monster that destroyed it loses 500 attack and defense. So that's also a nice little thing. It's kind of like Slate Warrior a little bit, but it's a nice little. It's obviously not going to play any part in the Slifer's effect, but that last effect, but it's something. Alright, next up, tell me if you've heard this one before. Giant Rat, 3 copies of as well. When it's destroyed in battle, you get to recruit another Earth-type monster with hidden less attack, like himself, and so it's really nice for like just defending for a little bit and also keeping a tribute out for your Slifer. Next, we have 3 copies of Interplanetary Purpley Beast. When a monster you control is destroyed by battle and sent to the graveyard, while this card is in your graveyard, you can first summon this card from your graveyard. If summoned this way, banish this card when it leaves the field. You can only use this effect of this card once per turn. So obviously, it doesn't take away from your hand at all, obviously, because it summons itself from the graveyard. And you can Inferno Rex to summon it, so it gives you your 3 tributes as well, which is really nice. Also, you can use it for rank 5 if you want to, or something, if you use Inferno Rex to summon, but the kind of main thing of this deck is Slifer, so there's that. And yeah, it's got 22 defense as well, so it's not too bad. It's really nice. So if your opponent's playing Slifer, then yeah, it doesn't matter because you're going to summon defense anyway. Alright, next up we have Kugakshu. Something or other, whatever the name is. If this card on the field is tributed, like for the tribute summon Slifer, and sent to the graveyard, you can, and if you can as well, so it's really nice, you can add one of the 4 low wind monsters from your deck or graveyard to your hand, increasing Slifer's power. Except for another copy of this card, you can use this effect once per turn. So that's really nice, so it gets you another wind into your hand, or specifically it gets you another card into your hand. So, and right at the point when you tribute for Slifer as well, so that's a really nice effect. So I just need to ensure that I actually have another level 4 lower wind in this deck. And this is level 4 or lower wind, so, but it can't be another copy of itself. So that's that. Alright, next one is, now no one will know this card, I'm sure, is Maxi. I'm sure no one knows this card. It's, I mean, this is kind of an obvious one, I think. Not an obvious one, but it's pretty obvious, I think. It's one that's pretty kind of generic, if you will, for this deck. During every player's turn, you can send this card from your hand to the graveyard. This turn, each time your opponent special summons a monster, immediately draw 1 card. You can only use 1 Maxi per turn. So, it's a nice little thing. If your opponent's going to special summon like crazy, you get to draw a bunch of cards, increasing your Slifer's power by an awful lot. And that 6 card hand limit doesn't occur until your own end phase. So if your opponent special summon like crazy during your turn, during your opponent's turn, and then they end their turn, all those cards that are in your hand, you get to keep them. So that's a really nice effect right there. But only until the end phase. So obviously once your end phase hits, then you got to discard for everything in your hand until you have 6 left. Next we have Molten Zombie. When this card is special summoned from the graveyard, draw 1 card. So really nice monster reborn target. Not that this card really is not that I'm really going to have a lot of monster reborns in this deck, but hey, it's something, and you can use pretty much a burial or Call of the Hunter in this, and you get to draw a card for it. So it's not bad. Really good card for this deck. Next up, we have 1 copy of Raz Disciple. Yeah, I actually have another copy of him for this deck. Obviously, I put 3 in the raw deck because that's kind of what you expect anyway. Any extra copies, I think I'm going to put them in. I think I'm going to like swap between put them in Slifer the Obelisk, and I might swap between putting him in Slifer Obelisk and Heracti as well, I'm not sure, but as of right now, I'd still want to at least get all 3 copies for Slifer the Obelisk, because this is basically like, this is practically a 1-card Slifer, you know, or a 1-card Egyptian God card, I should say. And the nice thing is, this card's effect, to special summon 2 more copies of Ra's Disciple, that effect can special summon them from the hand or deck. So so the best time to summon this is when the other 2 copies are in the deck, so that you don't lose any Slifer power. The only downside is that you can't special summon while you control this card except Ra's Disciples. So there's that, but it's a card. It's an Egyptian God support card, so it's alright. It's not bad. I say it's not bad. It's not bad for me. Alright, tell me if you've heard this one before. 3 copies of Shining Angel. Yeah, I got a lot of Shining Angels and Giant Rats. It's a bit concerning. This is basically Giant Rat, but for light monsters instead. So it's a nice little monster there. Keep you going. Alright, next up we have Star Seraph Sage. Once per turn, you can send a spell card from your hands to the graveyard, special 1 Star Seraph monster from your hand. So I do not know why this card is in the Slifer deck, because that takes 2 cards from your hand, but it's something, I guess. Maybe I'm supposed to put them in the Ra deck instead, I don't know. Maybe the Obelisk, I'm not quite sure. I'll have to, because I haven't checked these decks in quite a while since I've last, when I sleeved them, not too long ago, and I don't really remember the decks too well because I wasn't really looking at what the cards were. I was just sleeving them, while watching YouTube or whatever. So like my channel, you should watch my channel. Anyway, next card is Star Seraph Scepter. When this card is normal summoned or special summoned, you can add 1 Star Seraph monster from your deck to your hand, except another copy of this card. An Xyz monster that was special summoned using 3 or more monsters, including this card on the field as X material, gains this effect. When it is Xyz summoned, you can target 1 other card on the field destroyed, and if you do, you can draw 1 card. That might be why this card's in the deck, but I kind of doubt that. Because it adds you a Star Seraph monster from your deck to your hand, except it's another copy of this card, and it draws you a card as well when when it Xyzs into a 3+ Xyz monster. So I don't know about that, to be honest. The only restriction as well on that effect is that it has to use 3 or more monsters. This has to be 1 of them on the field. I think the other 2 can be in the hand as well, or in the graveyard or whatever, just as long as it uses 3 or more, and this is 1 of them while it's on the field. So there's that. Next we have Star Seraph Scout. When this card is normal summoned, you can special summon 1 Star Seraph monster from your hand. Again, why this card's in this deck, I don't know. I guess I want to keep all the Star Seraph monsters together. I'm not quite sure. But a lot of these cards, I feel a lot of these Star Seraph cards would probably be better in the Ra deck, maybe, because they're all light monsters and like Ra's Disciple, so I don't know. Maybe they're better off in the Heracti deck, actually, now I think about it. Alright, last Star Seraph monster, it is Star Seraph Sword. Once per turn, you can send 1 Star Seraph monster from your hand to the graveyard, again, losing hand. This card gains attack equal to the original attack of the same monster until the end phase. So yeah, again, I think maybe these cards should probably go in the Heracti deck now I think about it. Obviously, I'm not going to move them in just yet because I want to record the Heracti deck first and then make changes. Because I don't want to I want to show them off as they are now before I start making any edits, because then it feels a little bit more authentic, if you will. Yeah, but here's what it is. Alright, and then that was the last Star Seraph monster, but this is the last monster of the deck. That is Vortex Trooper. When this card is normal summoned, you can shuffle up 2 cards from your hand into the deck and draw 2 cards. So obviously that doesn't really lose you any cards in your hand. It just, if anything, it just allows you to shuffle cards and it just allows you to reload 2 cards, which is not too bad. When this card is destroyed, destroy 1 card. Draw 1 card. So obviously that draws you a card. Really nice card right there. It's and it doesn't matter if it's destroyed by battle or by card effect, by your opponent or by you. or if it's like banished or sent to the graveyard, it just needs to be destroyed to draw you that card. So obviously, you know, if anything, it's Slifer support and opponent Slifer support in a way, because if your opponent, actually, I wonder now that I think about it, would this card get destroyed by Slifer? Because he has 0 attack, so his attack isn't reduced to 0 by Slifer. So would that get him destroyed? Not sure, but obviously if he gets destroyed by Slifer's effect, then obviously he'll draw you a card, you know, for your own Slifer. So yeah. Alright, spell time. First card is Advanced Draw, and I say first card, but also the second card. So 2 copies of Advanced Draw. Tribute 1 face up level 8 or higher monster you control, like Slifer. not your tribute Slifer, but like Slifer. Draw tribute a level 8 or higher monster you control to draw 2 cards. So, you know, nice little card there. Something of I guess you can use it for something. Like this next card, Brain Control. So pay 800 life points to take control of one of your opponent's monsters, face up monsters, and this is before the errata, so it can be any monster, it can be a fusion, synchro, whatever, and you can use it to tribute for Slifer, or you can use it for something else. And then obviously, you know, or you can tribute for Advanced Draw if you wanted to. So there's that. That's a nice little card. Here, then this next card, a lot of people I assume are going to probably predict this card, is Card of Safe Return. When a monster is best summoned to the field from your graveyard, you can draw 1 card from your deck. So obviously that means that if a monster is best summoned to the field, so obviously any monster in your graveyard, it's not discriminate against anything. If it's a blue-eyed dragon, or as weak as a Karibo, if it's as dark as a Dark Magician, or as light as a Shining Angel, you know, whatever, as long as it's brought back from the graveyard, then you get to draw 1 card, and it has to be from your graveyard, but it doesn't matter whose field it is. So if your opponent uses a monster reborn on one of your monsters, you still get to draw the card, and it's not once per turn or anything either. Nor is it only you can only control 1 copy of this card. So you could control 3 copies of this card, and whenever a monster is best summoned from your graveyard, you can choose to draw up to 3 cards, and each one are individually choice as well, if you will. So like you can choose, like for example, if you've got 3 cards left in your deck, and it's your opponent's turn, they might think, oh, I want to reborn their monster to, you know, bait them into drawing more cards. But you can choose to just draw 2 cards and then not draw the 3rd one. That's what that kind of implies to me anyway. So yeah, nice little very nice card right there. Alright, next up is 2 copies of Exchange of Heart. Select 1 monster your opponent controls and take control of it until the end phase. So, you know, obviously nice little again, it's like Brain Control, except it doesn't cost and you can tribute it for Slifer. You know, heck, it's like it's just a free card, but not free. It's a free card, soul exchange, technically, but you get to play your battle phase. So you know, nice little card there. And the Exchange of Heart is pretty cool as well. I think they are always pretty cool. You know. Alright, next up we have Hieroglyph Lithograph. We have an ancient card here, basically, is what I'm saying. And it truly is ancient, because it's one of the old ones. Pay 1,000 life points. During the current duel, your hand size limit becomes 7. So, obviously, very nice for, you know, Slifer. Obviously, you get to keep an extra card in your hand for, you know, during your end phase. So, you get to keep a 7,000 Slifer and get an 8,000 Slifer during your turn, as opposed to a 6,000, 7,000 one. Alright, next up we have Last Will. This is probably one of my favourite old cards. This might be my most favourite old card, actually, now I think about it, but I don't know. It's basically like Giant Rat, but very, very big, if you will. You can only use this card to vet once, and only during this turn. When a monster on your side of the field is sent to your graveyard, or when a monster on your side of the field is sent to the graveyard, so it's got to be your monster purely, and it's got to be, you know, you can special summon 1 monster with an attack of 1,500 points or less from your deck. then shuffle your deck. So, you know, it's a pretty nifty card basically, it's really nice. Next up, okay, so we've got some repeats here actually, wow, is March of the Monarchs. Tribute summoned monsters, like Slifer, you control cannot be targeted by or destroyed by card effects. You cannot special summon from monsters from the extra deck, from your extra deck. So, you know, that's really nice, and it's really nice as well because it works with Wrath's Fey mode as well. Like, if you summon Wrath's Fey mode into your opponent's out of the field, and then it goes back to you, that... Or it doesn't even matter if it's like, you know, as long as it's like, you can change apart your opponent's tribute summoned monster, and you can do that because even if it targets, they don't have a March of the Monarchs on the field, presumably. Presumably it can be targeted. So once you get that, it then can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects. It will still go back to your opponent at the end phase, I presume, but it can't be targeted or destroyed by card effects while it's under your control. So, you know, that's a really nice effect. Next, another predictable one, and like I said, to repeat, Mound of the Bound Creator. Level 10 or higher monsters on the field, which is both players' fields, cannot be targeted or destroyed by card effects. So, like Slifer. If a level 10 or higher monster on the field destroys a monster by battle and sends it to the graveyard, the player who controls the destroyed monster takes 1000 damage. So this won't occur with Slifer's effect. You won't destroy an opponent's monster with Slifer's effect and then deal 1000 damage. It has to be by battle. When this card on the field is destroyed by card effects and sent to the graveyard, you can add a Define monster from your deck to your hand. So obviously nice for your card decks, especially Ra when there's 3 different ones, but or a Heredity deck, but you know, it's what it is. Alright, and the last spell card, this might be predictable a little bit, but next one and last one is White Elephant's Gift. Send one face-up non-effect monster you control to the graveyard, draw 2 cards. Now obviously I don't have any non-effect monsters in this deck at the moment. Well, I say obviously, I've not got an extra deck. And I didn't show off any normal monsters. But it's another draw 2, basically, so, you know, it's really nice. Obviously, once I get that means I do want to get like a, you know, not tribute monster, but a normal monster for the deck, or a non-effect monster I can use for the deck. So, you know, I think that Sandwich one, you know, the one that requires Sangan and Witch the Black Forest might be good for this deck, given that Sangan and Witch both search, and the fact that the fusion is a non-effect monster. Technically, by extension, it's an effect monster because obviously you fuse the 2 materials together, but you know. Alright, time for the traps. First, we have 2 copies of Backup Soldier. Activate only if there are 5 or more monsters in your graveyard, and up to 3 non-effect monsters with 15 or less attack from your graveyard to your hand. So I don't think that Sandwich has 15 or less attack, but obviously I don't have any. This isn't going to work in this deck, so obviously I'm going to have to get something for this deck, but you know, it's something. And hey, maybe I can combine this with my Exodia deck, who knows? You know, give me 2 win conditions there. You know, but it gets you 3 cards into your hand, so basically that increases Slifer's attack, basically, is what I'm saying. Next up is 2 copies of DNA Checkup. Select 1 face down monster you control. Your opponent declares 2 attributes. Reveal the selected monster, and if its attribute is one of the declared attributes, your opponent draws 2 cards. If not, you draw 2 cards. So the odds are in your favour. There's a 2 in 3 chance that they guess wrong. I say 2 in 3 because I don't think they're going to guess. I doubt they're going to guess Define. I don't know why they would, even in a deck like this. And there's only 6 attributes to choose from. I know there's like a Laugh attribute, but that one doesn't. I don't think that one really counts. I don't think you can declare it. Even if you could, why would you in such an instance? You know, so it's a 2 in 3 chance of you winning this. Not coin flip, but you know what I mean. This coin. Well, yeah, you know. So you know, it's a nice little card, and I mean, if anything, you know, it's something. So it might be good for my mill deck as well, but you know. Alright, next up is Legacy of Yatagarasu. Unfortunately, no, it has nothing to do with Yatagarasu. Well, not nothing, but not really like Yatagarasu itself. Activate one of these effects. first effect is draw one card, so it's basically Jar of Greed. Second effect though is activate any of your opponent controls a face-up spirit monster. Draw 2 cards. So your opponent actually has to control a spirit monster for this to become a double Jar of Greed, basically. But the first effect of it's a Jar of Greed. It's basically an extra 3 copies of Jar of Greed, basically. Alright, next, and wow, last of the deck is 3 copies of Reckless Greed. Draw 2 cards, and after that, skip your next 2 draw phases. So it's like you get your 2 draw phases now as you activate this effect. But unless they've changed the rules on it, last time I checked, if you activate 2 copies of Reckless Greed, then you get to draw 4 cards and yet skip 2 of your draw phases. And if you activate 3 copies of Reckless Greed, you get to draw 6 cards and yet skip only 2 draw phases. So the more you activate in one go, the less of a downside there is, which is really nice. It's a really cool card, and for a deck like this, especially if it's a trap card, obviously a lot of trap cards that draw cards is really good for Slifer, so it's really nice that right there. So there you go. Alright, and that's my Slifer deck. So yeah, I don't think I've got an awful lot to say about it really. There's just a lot of draw power, a lot of I need a few non-monsters for the deck to support it, if you will. Well, I say non-monsters, I need non-effect monsters. Backup soldier, what did he... That target, let me have a look. Yeah, it adds up to 3 non-effect monsters, so you can get that sandwich monster. Well, if that sandwich monster has 15 less attack, then you can get it. But if you have more than 15 attack, then you can't. And then I've got that wind monster. That searches another wind monster. So let's have a look. Okay, I do have that. I do have a level 4 wind monster. It's that creep monster. So at least that's not a dead card in the deck. And I'm pretty sure it's going to be a wind attributed version of Giant Rat as well. And Vortex Trooper as well. So I've got something. I've got something for them to search at least in the deck. Yeah, and yeah, this is, like I said, this is my second favourite of the 3. I think it's not my second favourite, but I think it's the second best one of the 3 Egyptian God cards. So it's it is what it is. Like I said, I need to get some support for the cards as well. Some Egyptian God card support, which I've kind of been out of the loop a little bit for a while. So I've not been able to keep tabs on what's been happening, other than like a few cards like the slime cards and whatnot, and a card that draws you until you have 6 cards in your hand, I think, something like that. So but yeah, I think that's going to be it for this part. So thank you for watching, and I hope you have a minky day.